And now we continue with the initiative of Lombardia region that will be presented by Laura Savini from Lombardia. Please, Laura.
Yes, please. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Laura Savini from Lombardia. Lombardia is the financial company of Lombardia region. Lombardia region is in the north of Italy. The capital city is Milan. This is just to give you an idea and also to explain why we are so committed to implement the Seal of Excellence. So, first of all, the Seal of Excellence is only a part of a larger strategy to create synergy with Horizon 2020, and this regardless of the source of fund. It's not only when structural funds are concerned, but in all our regional innovation policy, we have a particular attention to coordinate and to launch initiatives which are somehow in compliance with Horizons. For instance, we have also regional research innovation call, which are based on work program, and these work programs are the result of a large consultation of stakeholders, which take into account the regional vocation, but also the thematic of Horizon, to see where we can be competitive and where we need to reinforce to support the territory to participate to the call. Or, for instance, we use regional funds to complement some initiative at Horizon level, like the JTI on Excel. So, why it's so important at regional level to implement the Seal of Excellence? Not only because it's a very strategic initiative, as it was explained this morning by Magda and before me by Louise, but because there are a lot of potential at regional level. And as you know, these are excellent projects. They undergo a very selective selection in Brussels. And in Lombardia, we have large numbers. For instance, just to give you an idea, in total, we received 37 Seal of Excellence up to June this year for the phase 1. And 80 Seal of Excellence in phase 2. And we have more than 100 companies that have received a grant from the Commission. So more or less we have more than 200 companies that somehow are involved with the SME instrument. And so it's important from a political point of view to try to do something for this company, because they are the Commission called them the champions, so they can bring really great innovation at regional level. So what we have done so far, we have a pilot call back in 2014. It was a voucher scheme, and we launched it even before the Seal of Excellence as such was launched. So it was just an intuition that we had, because we saw that there was so much interest by our companies for this SME, because at regional level we don't have such a scheme. We cannot finance 70% of the eligible cost of a project with a grant. So there was very much interest, so we decided to have a voucher scheme, and we are now built on this experience. So this first experience was interesting, but there was a lack of information on the project that were above threshold, and the lack of awareness of companies. So it was a little bit difficult for us to capture the company that received, that didn't receive a seal because it still was not there yet, but overcome the evaluation. But so the numbers were not so great as expected, but there were some difficulty being the pioneer in this situation. Nevertheless, we had some good result. For instance, one of the company received a voucher. Thanks to his voucher, was able to build the business plan and to submit the proposal in the phase 2. And at the end, they win the phase 2. So what are we doing now? Now we have a a regional voucher scheme, which is open and will close at the end of October. It's a dedicated call only for the companies that received a phase one. We don't provide the same money as the Commission, so it's not 50,000 euro, but it's 30,000 euro. But more or less with the same approach. They don't have to justify every single item, but they have to provide the business plan. So we are not evaluating again this proposal because we took for granted the evaluation of the Commission. And we tried to make the procedure as simple as possible, which was not so easy, as you can imagine, because what is simple for the company, for the April, sometimes require a lot of work behind. So the company only have to present the seal and the ask of the proposal, and the proposal need to be in compliance with our smart specialization strategy. So the real problem for us, the real issue is the phase two, because as I mentioned before, we have more than 80 seal of excellence, so it means 8 potential very interesting projects, because once you succeed in phase two, you mean that you have a very structured business plan, that you have a very good market analysis, so it's a very promising project. So we want to do something. The problem with us is that we are maybe too successful, because of a number of seal, we cannot afford to, I don't know, to make a call for, we cannot afford to, how can I say, to support with grant. Also because the average budget is 1.5 million. And today we have 16, maybe even more proposal finance compared to a lot of proposals were not very good but not financed. So we don't have enough budget to finance all this project, and nevertheless we want to not to waste such a competence. And so the idea is to use financial engineering, so to support these companies with loans. But the first thing we were trying to understand better with the managing authority is would be the companies be interested to receive something which is not a grant, it's not 70% a grant of eligible cost, but is a loan. Because with a structural fund, you know, before coming out with a new scheme, there is a lot of procedure that you have to take into account, and you have to make sure that the scheme that you are launching meets the need of a company, of a beneficiary. So we just try random to ask to some of the company that receive a seal, and one of the problems is that, as you know, the Commission doesn't provide the list of a company that receive the seal of excellence because of privacy reasons. So we don't know all these 80 companies, so we're trying to catch them. So we asked to some of them if they would be interested, and the answer vary according to the size and to the maturity and the history of a company. The more consolidated companies say that they are interested because they want to carry out the project even if they don't receive the money from the Commission, because it's very strategic for them. In that case, they would be interested to have a loan, but with an interest rate lower than the market, with a flexibility to adjust the project that they presented to the Commission, to take into account they are receiving less money in a different form, to have a positive cash flow and long-term reimbursement. So we are considering these requests from the Commission when trying to design this new instrument. On the other hand, there are some companies, especially startups, because many startups have participated to the SME, so even at the beginning the Commission said to us, well, this is not, there is no room for startup, but in practice that we saw that there are many startups, and they say that the loans are not their cup of tea because they are still in the need of financial resource, so they would be more interest to receive investment. So what we are trying to do is to have a larger communication with this Seal of Excellence company. At regional level, we have an open innovation platform which address many thematics, and we try to build communities, and we are trying also to go international with this. And we have opened up a community within the SME instrument where all stakeholders, like coaches, like experts, like companies, they can say what they think and what they want. And on the basis of this, we would like to proceed and go also to our managing authority and to see what can be built for those companies. So, but in the meantime, we are also trying to approach the synergy with an open mind, so to try to use all the opportunities that we have at regional level. For instance, now there is an innovation fund that will support the industrialization process, and we insert a criteria for the company that have ended the phase 2 project and need money to industrialize their product. So. And another initiative that we are planning, it's for November, it's a meeting with investors. It's a matchmaking event with venture capitalists, which is open not only to the SME beneficiary, but also to the Seal of Excellence, just to expose them as much in advance as possible to investors. But it was also a way, an approach to make the venture capital more aware of the opportunity of the SME instrument, of the fact that the Commission was selecting very excellent projects that could be of interest also for their audience. So this is more or less the general approach that we have, and here are my reference in case you want to have more information of any of these initiatives. Thanks.